It sounded like the beginning scene of Criminal Minds, a desperate, muffled struggle in the dead of night. The sound of someone bound and fighting for their life, their cries escalating into piercing, blood-curdling screams that shattered the silence of a quiet apartment building. In Alton, Illinois, on June 8, 2022, just after midnight, grainy CCTV footage captures a lone figure clutching a white laundry basket, slipping down the deserted 3,400 block of Bolivar Street toward a dumpster behind a smoke shop. The contents of that basket were a mystery, cloaked in darkness, until a horrifying discovery the next day unveiled a crime so gruesome it would haunt this small town forever. Join us as we meticulously unravel the tragic murder of Liese Dodd, a 22-year-old woman on the cusp of motherhood, whose life and dreams were stolen in an act of unimaginable cruelty. Through exclusive details, witness accounts, and investigative insights, we'll piece together the events that led to this tragedy and the pursuit of justice that followed. Let's dive into the chilling case of Liese Dodd. Alton, Illinois, a historic town of approximately 25,600 residents nestled along the Mississippi River, lies just 18 miles north of St. Louis. Known for its charming brick-lined streets and landmarks like the Clark Bridge, Alton blends small-town warmth with a darker undercurrent. The city's crime rate, particularly for violent offenses, stands 30% higher than the Illinois average, with 5.7 violent crimes per 1,000 residents, compared to the state's 4.4, according to 2022 FBI uniform crime reports. On the 3,400 block of Bolivar Street, a quiet residential area, life unfolded predictably. Neighbors wheeled out trash bins, left for early shifts, and ran errands, as captured by flickering CCTV cameras. But on June 9, 2022, this unassuming street would become the epicenter of a tragedy that would ripple through the community. Liese Dodd, a 22-year-old woman, 8 months pregnant with her first child, had recently settled into a second-floor apartment on Bolivar Street. A vibrant and ambitious young woman, Liese was preparing for a baby shower and dreaming of a career in the medical field. Her life, brimming with hope, was about to be extinguished in a way that would leave her family, friends, and neighbors grappling with shock and grief. At 12:59 p.m. on June 9, 2022, Heidi Noel, Liese's mother, arrived at her daughter's apartment after a troubling 15-hour silence. Liese, typically quick to respond to texts and calls, hadn't been heard from since 9:11 p.m. the previous evening. A gnawing sense of dread compelled Heidi to use her key to enter the apartment. Inside, she was met with a scene that would haunt her forever. 2 minutes later, at 1:01 p.m., she stumbled out onto the front steps, trembling and pale, as neighbors gathered, their faces reflecting the gravity of what she'd found. Heidi's 911 call, placed at 1:02 p.m., was a raw outpouring of grief and disbelief. Operator 911, what's your emergency? Heidi, my daughter. She's dead. Her head's been cut off. I think her boyfriend did this. I touched her, she's cold. There's no head, please. Please find her head. Alton Police Department officers arrived within 7 minutes, entering the second-floor apartment at 1:06 p.m. In Liese's bedroom, they found her lifeless body sprawled on the bed. A white towel was wrapped around her neck, resembling a turban, but her head was missing, severed in a brutal act of desecration. The room bore no immediate signs of a murder weapon, and Liese's head was nowhere to be found. Her unborn daughter, due in mid-July and affectionately nicknamed Baby Bean, had also perished. The apartment, once a hopeful space for a new mother, was now a crime scene, forever altering the quiet rhythm of Bolivar Street. The investigation began with a chilling discovery earlier that morning, around 8:30 a.m. on June 9th. At a construction site 300 yards up Bolivar Street, a worker disposing of drywall scraps in a large red dumpster noticed something alarming among the debris. A pile of blood-stained clothing, including women's blouses, men's shirts, and a pair of red women's slippers, all smeared with dried blood. Nearby lay a serrated paring knife, its blade coated in blood, in a white laundry basket, discarded carelessly among the trash. The worker, shaken by the scene, stepped back and alerted his supervisor, who contacted the Alton police. This was the first piece of a gruesome puzzle, hinting at a crime far beyond ordinary theft or vandalism. CCTV footage from the night before provided a critical breakthrough. At 11:57 p.m. on June 8th, Cameras outside Liese's apartment captured a man later, identified as Deundrea Holloway, her 22-year-old boyfriend exiting the building with a white laundry basket. He paused by Liese's black 2018 Hyundai sedan, appearing to fumble for keys before returning inside. At 12:01 a.m., he reappeared, still clutching the basket, now wearing dark sneakers and a face covering. Walked out of frame toward a dumpster behind a smoke shop on the 3500 block of Bolivar Street. Security footage from a nearby business confirmed the chilling act. At 12:03 a.m., Deundrea tossed the basket and a bundle of clothes into the dumpster. On June 9th at 2:15 p.m., police recovered the basket and made a horrifying discovery. Liese's severed head was inside, wrapped in a plastic bag, confirming the brutality of her murder. Liese Dodd, born August 14, 1999, in Alton, was a beacon of kindness and ambition. As a child, her compassion shone through when, at age 10, she organized a fundraiser for the Riverbend Humane Society in Jerseyville. No-kill animal shelter, foregoing birthday gifts to support a cause she loved. A 2017 graduate of Jersey Community High School, Liese joined the workforce at Dairy Queen on Broadway Avenue, where her infectious smile and warm demeanor made her a favorite among customers. She had a way of lighting up the room, a regular customer later told The Telegraph. Liese was saving diligently to pursue a career in the medical field, inspired by her mother, Heidi, a nurse practitioner. In June 2022, Liese was 8 months pregnant with a girl she affectionately called Baby Bean. Her family was buzzing with excitement, having mailed baby shower invitations the previous Saturday, June 4th. Liese's apartment was filled with baby items, diapers, onesies, and a copy of What to Expect When You're Expecting, found later with her hand resting on it. She was a beautiful soul, Heidi said in a statement. I wish she knew how loved she was, that she could have escaped that relationship and lived a full life with her daughter. Liese's life was overshadowed by a volatile on-again relationship with Deundrea Holloway, a 22-year-old Alton native. The couple had been together for nearly 2 years, since mid-2020. But their relationship was marred by escalating violence. Liese's boss at Dairy Queen, Karen Miller, noticed troubling signs: frequent black eyes, bruises on her arms, and marks suggesting she'd been grabbed or struck. Liese initially blamed her injuries on her dog, a pit bull named Max, but by late 2021, she admitted Deundrea was abusive. In July 2021, she was hospitalized at Alton Memorial Hospital with a broken nose and 2 black eyes after an altercation with him, according to medical records cited in court documents. Witnesses corroborated the abuse. On April 15, 2021, Dairy Queen's rear security camera captured Deundrea punching Liese in the face while they sat in her car in the parking lot. The footage was too grainy to be conclusive. But Karen witnessed the incident and confronted Liese, who admitted they'd been arguing. Neighbors on Bolivar Street reported frequent loud arguments, with one recalling an incident in March 2022 where Deundrea was seen punching himself in the face after a fight, as if in self-punishment. In September 2021, Liese texted Karen, "My boyfriend beat me again, and I had to go to my mom's. They're urging me to stay safe because he's threatened to harm us. Can someone cover my shift tomorrow?" Despite these red flags, Liese returned to Deundrea. And by January 2022, they were living together in the Bolivar Street apartment. Deundrea's half-sister, PJ Holloway, described his unstable lifestyle to police. "He bounces between homes when he and Liese fight," she said. "He's been using substances and he's had a rough home life." On June 5, 2022, Deundrea texted a friend, revealing his mental state. "I feel like all my emotions are spilling over. I don't know how to let them out without snapping or crying. I've been in grown man situations since I was a kid, with so much pressure." The message suggested a man teetering on the edge, overwhelmed by unaddressed mental health struggles. On Tuesday, June 7, 2022, Deundrea left the apartment with his uncle Marty Holloway from St. Louis. At 6:24 p.m., as captured by the apartment complex's CCTV, he was supposed to return by 10 p.m., but he didn't. Liese, 8 months pregnant and juggling work and stress, texted Heidi at 9:05 p.m. "You think he'd just leave like this?" "I think I got left." Heidi, who had long distrusted Deundrea due to his abusive history, replied, "If this is how it's meant to happen, it's nonviolent. You've been set free." Liese, heartbroken, responded, "I'm not seeing it that way yet." In a moment of despair, Lisa revealed a disturbing incident to Heidi. "I broke a razor down and cut my leg, because I told him I was just going to kill myself. I can't get it right." Heidi, alarmed but composed, urged her to focus on her baby's health, writing, "Stressing won't help you or Bean." At 1:39 a.m. on June 8th, Lisa took a 30-minute drive in her Hyundai sedan, too anxious to sleep, as confirmed by GPS data later recovered by police. At 7:06 a.m., she texted Heidi, "Still no Deundrea. I feel like he'll show up, but I can't tell." Lisa reached out to Deundrea's family, including PJ, adding her on Facebook to ask if they'd seen him. She also texted her landlord, Joe Carter, at 8:15 a.m. "My boyfriend didn't come home last night and left his phone. Can you check the cameras to see if he left and what he was wearing? His family and I are worried." Joe reviewed the footage, confirming Deundrea left with his uncle at 6:24 p.m. on June 7th. Lisa relayed this to PJ, who noted that Deundrea's uncle was supposed to return him by 10 p.m. At 8 p.m. on June 8th, Deundrea's uncle texted Lisa saying he was bringing Deundrea back. At 9:11 p.m., CCTV captured them arriving at the apartment, with Lisa driving and Deundrea in the passenger seat. Lisa texted Heidi, "I'm trying to figure it out." It was her final message. At 10:49 p.m., Heidi texted, "You okay?" but received no reply. By then, Lisa was already dead. Downstairs neighbors, a couple in their late 20s, were accustomed to hearing Lisa and Deundrea's arguments, which often echoed through the thin walls of the 1960s-era apartment building. They'd called police twice before, once in February 2022, after hearing objects slammed against walls. But on June 8th, the disturbance was different. At 9:30 p.m., they noticed the upstairs apartment door was cracked open in unusual detail, as Lisa and Deundrea typically kept it locked. Around 9:35 p.m., muffled yelling began, described as pained, like stifling a scream after cutting your finger with scissors. By 9:45 p.m., the screams grew intense, raw, and desperate, accompanied by 5 or 6 loud rhythmic thuds that shook the apartment. The female neighbor, Sarah Thompson, later told police, "It sounded like chopping wood steady, deliberate beats, like someone lifting an axe and swinging with force." Her partner Michael Reed added, "The whole building vibrated. It wasn't like their usual fights, it felt final." At 9:50 p.m., the screams, thuds, and shaking stopped abruptly, leaving an eerie silence. Sarah texted Joe at 9:52 p.m. "Hey, something's wrong upstairs. We heard thumps and screaming for 5 minutes straight. Our door was cracked open. If it starts again, we'll call the police." Joe tried calling Lisa, but got no response. The neighbors, shaken, stepped outside to wait, hoping to see Lisa or Deundrea emerge, as one often did after fights. Instead, they noticed the upstairs lights flickering on and off, indicating someone was still inside. "We assumed it was Lisa," Sarah said. "We didn't want to get involved unless it got worse." At 11:57 p.m., CCTV captured Deundrea leaving the apartment with a white laundry basket, wearing dark sneakers, black pants, and a face covering. He paused by Lisa's car, appearing to search for keys, before returning inside. At 12:01 a.m., he re-emerged, walked to the dumpster behind the smoke shop, and discarded the basket and clothes, as confirmed by a secondary camera at 12:03 a.m. The neighbors, now back inside, didn't see him, but heard footsteps on the stairs around 12:05 a.m. by 2:30 a.m. Lisa's car was gone from the parking lot, and Deundrea had fled. At 2:30 a.m. on June 9th, Deundrea arrived at his mother's house in Litchfield, 40 miles northeast of Alton. His sister PJ was asleep, but her younger sister, 16-year-old Kayla, heard him banging on the door, pacing nervously in the driveway. He was acting weird, like he was scared, Kayla later told police. Deundrea drove Lisa's black Hyundai sedan, which struck the family as odd, as Lisa rarely let him use it alone. At 10 a.m., PJ found Deundrea in the bathroom, cutting off his dreadlocks, which he'd maintained for 2 years and took pride in. "I asked why he was cutting them," PJ said. He just said, "Fresh start," but he was shaky, like he was on edge. Deundrea discarded his clothes, a blue bucket hat, black hoodie, and dark pants by the sidewalk near the trash can, later placing them inside. He handed his grandmother, Evelyn Holloway, Lisa's driver's license, debit card, and 2 keys, claiming he found them on the ground. Evelyn, suspicious, asked, "Why do you have her stuff? She'll need her license." Deundrea offered no clear answer, saying, "Only, I'll get it back to her." By noon, Deundrea left the house on foot, telling his mother, Tanya, he was going to cut grass. He left Lisa's car parked on the street with a handwritten for sale sign in the window, an act police later described as an attempt to distance himself from the vehicle. His erratic behavior, changing his appearance, discarding evidence, possessing Lisa's belongings, pointed to a frantic effort to cover his tracks. At 1:30 p.m. on June 9th, following Heidi's 911 call, Alton police secured the apartment and began processing the scene. Forensic teams noted minimal blood spatter, suggesting the decapitation occurred post-mortem, likely with the serrated knife found in the dumpster. The absence of Lisa's head and the murder weapon in the apartment indicated the killer had removed critical evidence. At 9:30 p.m., police executed a search warrant at Deundrea Holloway's home in Litchfield, recovering Deundrea's discarded clothes and dreadlocks, wrapped in toilet paper from the trash can. The clothes matched those seen on CCTV, and DNA tests later confirmed traces of Lisa's blood on the hoodie. At 1:45 a.m. on June 10th, the Gillespie Police Department, 15 miles from Litchfield, arrested a John Doe for possession of 10 grams of cannabis during a routine traffic stop. Officers identified him as Deundrea Holloway after cross-referencing his fingerprints with Alton PD's records. During questioning at Gillespie PD, Deundrea was uncooperative and erratic, pacing, laughing, and banging his head against the wall. "I'm dissociated," he told officers. "I was prescribed meds once, but I don't take them." He refused to provide his name, repeatedly saying, "I just want to go to work," though he appeared unemployed. When Alton PD detectives arrived at 3:20 a.m., Deundrea demanded a lawyer, ending the interview. A warrant was issued for his DNA, fingerprints, and clothing, which revealed additional traces of Lisa's blood. On June 13, 2022, Deundrea was charged with 2 counts of first-degree murder for Lisa and her unborn child, 2 counts of intentional homicide of an unborn child, dismembering a human body, concealment of a homicidal death. Motor vehicle offenses related to Lisa's car. His bond was set at $2 million. Alton Police Chief Marcos Polito addressed the media. "What happened to Liese Dodd and her unborn child is beyond reprehensible. We are committed to justice for her family and this community." Deundrea's behavior in jail was troubling. He refused to leave his cell, made threats to corrections officers, including saying, "I'll cut off your head," and missed a virtual court appearance. On June 14th, requiring officers to restrain him. In August 2022, psychological evaluation deemed Deundrea unfit to stand trial due to severe mental health issues, including suspected schizophrenia and dissociative symptoms. He was admitted to the Illinois Department of Human Services Chester Mental Health Center for treatment. In February 2023, he was declared competent after months of therapy and medication. However, the Illinois Supreme Court's 2022 ruling in People v. Smith determined that an unborn child could not be considered a second murder victim for a life sentence, reducing the prosecution's ability to seek life without parole. On December 16, 2023, Deundrea pleaded guilty to first-degree murder, intentional homicide of an unborn child, and concealment of a homicidal death. On January 17, 2025, Madison County Circuit Judge Kyle Knapp sentenced him to 60 years in prison, 30 years for murder, 24 homicide of an unborn child, and 10 for concealment, to be served consecutively. He must serve at least 52 years before parole eligibility, making him 74 at the earliest possible release in 2074. At the sentencing, Heidi Noel delivered a heart-wrenching statement. "This was the tragic result of a 2-year abusive relationship. My daughter should be raising her toddler, not lying in a grave. Lisa was a loving soul, excited for her baby girl. If you're in an abusive relationship, make a safe plan to leave. If someone threatens your life, believe them. Reach out to resources like the Oasis Women's Center or the National Domestic Violence Hotline. Your life is worth it." Heidi donated $16,000 raised through a GoFundMe campaign to the Oasis Women's Center in Alton. Supporting domestic violence survivors in Lisa's memory, Deundrea's family was devastated. Stepfather Chris Hawk posted a YouTube video on June 16, 2022. "I offer my deepest condolences to the Dodd family. What Deundrea did was an act of evil. There's no other word for it. But he's not a monster. We've been trying to get him mental health help for 3 years, But the system failed him. He's a human who crossed a line, and it's tragic for everyone. Chris shared old photos of Deundrea smiling, emphasizing his humanity while acknowledging the horror of his actions. Liese's final moments were marked by her love for her unborn child. Police found her hand resting on a copy of What to Expect When You're Expecting, a poignant symbol of her dreams for baby Bean. Her story is a stark reminder of the dangers of domestic violence, which claims over 1,000 lives annually in the U.S., according to the CDC's 2022 data. A poem Liese shared on Facebook in March 2021 reflects her resilience and strength. Thank you for joining us on the Crime Decoder. Liese Dodd's story is a call to action. If this story moved, you subscribe to our YouTube channel to get more heart-reckoning true crime stories.